Hello everybody, officially the third episode of Boldly Going, and today we're going to be discussing my favorite series so far, and the two-part pilot, which I forgot about actually, and that is for DS9. So, let's start. First off with Dan. I'm curious to think what you thought about this two-parter.
Okay, well...
There's a lot going on.
There is a lot going on. This series actually... I thought I had no real connection with.
Okay.
But it actually came on in '93.
Yes.
When I was still living at home before college. So it actually was on in my house. I remembered, seeing Avery Brooks and all the greats, and Call Meany. So I actually thought I had no connection after Next Gen, but I do kind of remember seeing D6. I don't think I actually sat down and watched any episodes like I did with the original 2 series.
So it wasn't as foreign to you as you thought.
Yeah, but it wasn't as foreign to me as I thought.
Okay,
now,
cool.
It doesn't mean I necessarily liked it.
Okay.
I thought 2 hours was ridiculously long for for this.
You're not liking these two-parters, are
you? I just feel like...
Hey, trust me, the two-parters are some of the best later on.
Later on, yes. Best of both worlds, we know that, obviously, which factors into this. And I loved that they brought Patrick Stewart on. Next Gen was still running at this time, so...
Good segue.
I thought that was, cool, passing of the torch kind of thing. Like, hey, I'm still here being Picard, but...
Did you like the interplay between them?
I did, and I also liked that... because I was sort of wondering when... in Trek context, this took place.
Now you know.
And, yeah, I knew because, there's Patrick Stewart and Best of Both Worlds, and okay, I get it now. So, yeah, I like the idea that it's taking place on the space station.
You do like that concept?
I do. I'm not sure how I'll feel about it 200 episodes later, or I think there's 170 some, or whatever.
There's quite a few.
Yeah. But for now, I'm enjoying it.
Okay.
I hated that the... that the Kardashians,
yes.
The Kardashians are one of my least favorite things in history.
This joke has been made
every time. Of course,
they're not the same.
But every time they said it, my ears just like.
Yeah, no.
Does that keep coming up in Deep Space Nine?
Well, the Kardashians are like the main villains for the first couple seasons. So
great.
But it's a good joke because when you associate evil, you think
Kardashians.
Kardashians.
Actually, that is true. It kind of worked for that.
Did you like Gul Dukat? He was the leader of the Kardashians.
Yeah, he was alright.
He's a good villain. He's probably one of my favorites.
Yeah. I thought Brooks' acting was horrible. Didn't like his portrayal at all. Didn't really like the whole... The worst acting of his came in the flashbacks with the woman.
With his wife.
His wife. I didn't know if that was his wife or girlfriend, but yeah.
Yeah.
That was bad acting, bad flashback editing. Those were by far the worst parts.
They were kind of bad.
They were hokey. They were bad. The effects were okay. The plot was fine. It was
the prophets and the
typical Trek kind of plot. I think the most compelling part was you saw Patrick Stewart. You got to sort of see the interplay there. Call Meany, who we see in Next Gen, now is a series regular here. So I thought that was interesting.
Good character.
I'm interested to kind of see where it goes. I've been told by you and others that the first season, is it just the first season or first 2 seasons of Deep Space Nine are just not engaging?
I said that about Next Gen. But the same thing is true for DS9. I don't know what it is.
Because I know my dad didn't get into it till about the 3rd season.
Well, I was going to say, I'll tell you right now going in, unfortunately, yes, DS9, much like Avery Brooks at Cisco, does not really find itself until it goes on. Once the Dominion are introduced, who are the primary antagonists for DS9, and it gets more of that consistent story arc, it gets much better.
Okay.
But until then, expect more episodic Trek stuff, much like early Next Gen, struggling to find out what it is. And,
at least with Next Gen, I guess I already have a solid fan base for the characters. Here, it's going to be, I think, a little more of a struggle. I thought this was a very average start to this series. I give it a C+.
Okay.
Justin, what do you think?
Well, I'll be honest, John. Out of the 3 pilots that we had to watch, I'd probably rank DS9 is the best one we've seen.
Oh,
wow, okay.
I can't speak to Voyager. I've only seen part 1 thus far. But
Having no real connection though to Next Gen, like I do.
To Next Gen, only a little bit with
a little
TOS.
bit with the original.
That's understandable.
But honestly,
so it's interesting.
Honestly, out of the 3 captains, Sisko's by far my favorite.
Oh,
how about the acting though?
Acting might not be the best.
Did not bother me as much as it did for you. I'll admit the flashback scene.
They're pretty bad.
Are a little odd to put it bluntly.
We've seen him though.
We have
in other things, and he's great.
But again, remember, you saw him in American History X 5 years later.
True.
So
this is true.
He learned.
He did learn.
He learned how to act.
But I feel like he hits that medium of diplomatic side of Picard, but also still somewhat of the
badassery,
ruthlessness of Kirk.
That's why I think I like him the best, because he does balance those 2 captains very well. Really does. He's not really one or the other.
I mean, you get to see both of them throughout the pilot, and what I feel like it did much better than the Next Generation's pilot did was it introduced a bunch of different subplots that we knew were going to be explored later on, but I was legitimately curious to see where they were actually heading, instead of with Next Generation, where I feel like I was handed a bunch of different things and expected to have some degree of intrigue, but instead it was more or less of a great. Well, Nisus is here, but I really don't care that much.
That first episode of Next Gen is not that good. I mean,
I didn't grade that very highly either.
Yeah,
But I mean, I thought the change was definitely, it added its own sort of flavor to it, which I liked a lot.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot going on, but I don't think that's a bad thing for a story literally set in a space station.
Oh well, there's a lot that happens on it.
The flashbacks, I don't know if there's going to be more of them or less of them. I don't know.
Not that many, because they're pretty cheesy. Though, if you don't like Sisko's family roots,
the stuff with his kid was okay.
You like his kid?
Yeah, I thought the stuff with his kid was fine.
Okay, well, all right, because he does his family and his.
I like those a lot more than the wife. For sure.
The wife is dead, so you won't see.
Thank God for that.
Though, he does get a girlfriend eventually. Who plays notorious bad girlfriends on certain 24-hour related shows.
Is that right?
It's true. Yeah,
okay.
So she's pretty good later on. But yeah, the wife is gone. So don't worry about not too many flashbacks of that I can recall. No promises though, because I don't really watch the early seasons.
Well, yeah.
I really don't like. In all honesty, like I said, it picks up once we get to the Jem'Hadar and stuff. But there's some good episodes here speckled out. But I feel that DS9 was struggling to find itself because it was set on a space station, so it's going to be setting up a lot of long acting storylines. Whereas,
which I'm okay with,
which is one thing that sets it apart from any other series. But it's going to struggle to find out how it's going to do that, which is one reason why it wasn't very well received in the beginning, because it's different. Not sure what it is. Next Gen's problem is much simpler, trying to beat TOS when it's not.
Yeah.
And that's.
And getting fans to be okay with that, I'd argue.
And that's something, it's interesting because every Star Trek series has kind of this problem getting started for different reasons. But as it goes, Star Trek gets better. Mm-hmm. That's really the way it is universally, unless...
You gotta stick with it.
Well, you have to stick with it. And with DS9 more so than any other. You're right. It might be a struggle, but trust me. I mean, I can guarantee you that if you get to the last episode of DS9, you're going to be liking it more than the pilot. I mean,
I would hope.
I can. But it was on for 7 years, syndicated with long-lasting storylines. For the 90s, that was virtually unheard of. It predates Buffy, for that matter of fact.
That's true. So, well, that wasn't syndicated, but yes.
I always forget.
WB.
But it moved, though. It moved, didn't it?
UPN the last year, 2 years maybe.
Partially, I guess.
2 years.
Partially. Barely. But by then it was well established.
Yeah.
But anyway.
Yeah.
But
what's Justin's grade?
Yeah.
I'd probably leave it with an A-, to be honest with you.
Okay.
Wow, there's a discrepancy there.
Yeah. A little bit.
Well, it's his favorite. It's my least favorite of the three, so... My favorite was the original series, to be honest.
So far, it's...
Which is interesting, since it was only Nimoy, really, from the main cast.
And even he's acting somewhat differently from his character.
But I mean, I'm trying not to grade them from a Trek... I'm trying to grade the original series pilot as...
What it is.
What it is, not... This is a series... an episode of Trek... but it's missing Kirk and Bones and literally everyone.
It's not full Trek. It's pre-Trek. It's.
I was trying to grade that based on how I would have felt about it if the rest of the series didn't exist yet, and that's all I had to go on.
That's true.
That's a good
true.
point,
Well,
yeah.
and it literally is the stepping stone, so that's
Right.
fair. That's fair.
And I mean, with this one, I did debate for a little while how good would I have liked it if I hadn't watched Best of Both Worlds ahead of time.
Well, that's the thing. If you didn't have that connection, that scene would be nothing to you.
Yeah, Joe told us to watch that ahead of time. But I have to feel, though, that 98.5% of the people that watched the Deep Space Nine pilot
Would have been able to figure it out.
were well versed in Trek and had seen Best of Both Worlds and owned it on the 2 VHS
That is
collector's
true.
edition.
Yeah.
You know, I mean,
Okay, that's fair.
You're right. To be fair, people tuning in to DS9 probably have been following Trek for a while.
it would be like watching the first episode of Angel, to go back to the Buffy reference.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're watching the pilot of Angel, there's a pretty good chance you were watching Buffy already.
Or else you were like, oh, what's this random thing? I don't know what it is. I'm turning it off now.
Right.
You know, good point. It's pretty.
And Trek exponentially so because it's Trek.
That's true. That's right. That's very
So,
true.
I think they weren't too worried about that.
No, they weren't too worried. You're right. But you're right. If you weren't coming in, it wouldn't mean as much. That's true.
Yeah,
That's true.
I can't argue with
Which
that.
is why I wanted to watch it, because I thought otherwise you'd be like, why is there so much tension here?
And it's a great episode, so why not?
No, yeah, I'm glad you liked it. That's surprising. Yeah, unsurprisingly, I'm in between you guys. I think that this episode's okay. There's still a lot to be fleshed out here. They are trying to produce a lot of characters. Well, my favorite cast of characters, really. I mean, there's just a lot of great ones here. Unfortunately, you don't really get to see enough of them because they're just speckled. But you get that Odo's the cop.
I was going to say,
Quark's the
Odo was
troublemaker.
always one of my favorites, and Quark, is it Quark?
Quark.
Quark is my favorite
Armin Shimmerman,
character.
once again from Buffy. He filmed them same
Yeah.
day, all the time.
Yep.
But yeah, like literally my two favorite characters in Trek are here. Well, actually, so I mean, there's a lot of good stuff here. You'll see, definitely going on, but it will take a while. First season of DS9 is a bit iffy, but promise there's Trek greatness eventually.
Always.
But I'm between you guys. I leave it with a B. I think it's okay for DS9. You can do worse, but you can do a lot better. All right. Well,
Ainsley's favorite segment.
Yeah, classic phrase.
though I am curious to see where we're going because next episode
We're boldly going.
Into Voyager, which has a fan base, but is generally the second most hated of the series. We're sensing a pattern as we kind of.
Yeah.
Any reason why, if you don't mind me asking?
Well, we're gonna watch the episode soon.
No spoilers, but
No spoilers.
Maybe something to talk about next week
Yeah.
after we actually watch it.
After we watch it, but the only thing I could say
I wasn't sure if it was like in relation to the series overall or just strictly to the pilot. Or...
No, the pilot. No, I'll be honest. I'm kind of okay with Voyager pilot, but the only thing I could say is just some really bad writing. There's some really some of the. It's not the pilot. There's an episode of Voyager where by breaking warp 10, because no starship has ever gone past warp 10 before, they reach infinite speed, and this transforms Janeway into the ultimate of all being, which is a salamander.
Wow.
This is a legitimate episode of Star Trek that was in Voyager. I can't say that. That's
Okay.
sillier than anything in the original series, which is amazing.
Saying something.
Yeah,
That was
that's
vengeance.
something.
So I'll just say that, and we'll leave it at that. But don't judge the pilot based on that.
No,
Yeah.
of course.
That has its own problems. But
Well, we'll cross that bridge, I guess.
I will.
Yeah,
But anyway,
that's fair.
this is DS9. Kind of a really uneven start this time around, but, well, we have plenty of episodes to watch in the future. All right, guys.
See ya.
Till next time.